Okay, welcome back everyone. I have not done a video in a long time, so thought I'd do a quick update on the tank and a few other changes. I'm going to try and keep this a short video, so I'll probably end up doing two separate videos to go over all the changes. But to start out, here's the tank. Probably the first thing you'll notice is the change in the background. It used to be blue, changed it to black. Reason is I finally got my LED, and I didn't like the way the LED light looked with the blue background. Before I had a regular T8, just a basic aquarium light, but when I put the LED on, huge change, huge, and I'll go over the LED in a minute. But I luckily in planning early on, I used an acrylic paint, which I knew ahead of time would be easy to peel off. So it really peeled off pretty easy. It took a little bit of scraping in a few spots, but it really came off pretty easy. So I painted it black, and I definitely like the black with the LED. So that was a good choice. As far as livestock, let's see. I've added a sailfin tang. Don't know if I had my fox face in the display tank the last video. I know I showed them to you in my quarantine. Don't think I moved them over yet. Also have a firefish. Now before I changed to the black background, I rarely saw him. He hid in the back, only came out to eat, and when he did come out, he stayed in the back. So with the change in the background and the lights, he's out more. So I'm really happy about that. The only bad thing, which is not bad anymore, is my fox face. He was hiding quite a bit with the change in the light in the background, but he's finally coming out a lot more. So firefish is out now. Fox face is getting used to the new lights. The clowns, the original two fish in the tank, they're just hanging out. They do their thing, and just a couple of happy fish. The coal yellow eye is still the boss of the tank. Everyone kind of follows her around, and she's probably the more aggressive one. Not aggressive as in picking with the other fish, but just just a lot more outgoing. Maybe that's the word I should use. Let's see. No change to the aquascape. That's pretty much the same. The only change to the tank would be the background. One thing about the firefish, and maybe a reason he was hiding early on, is the clowns were picking on him. That kind of surprised me. I wouldn't have anticipated the clownfish to have a problem with anybody, but they were originally picking on him. But now they leave him alone, and he's happy. He's out. I'm happy about that, and everything's pretty healthy. So really happy with the tank. So the next step, so now that I got my LED, would be to start adding some corals, but I need to get a few other things in order first, small things, before I add my first corals. So I'll take you around to the back of the tank, show you the lights, and show you maybe a few other small changes I made. Be back in a second. Okay, so here's the sump. There are about four changes I made. First change is right here. You'll notice there's airline tubing coming out of the air intake for my skimmer. I was having problems with keeping my pH up. I was down in like the 7.9, 7.95. And a couple things I found online. One way to get your pH up is to run the air intake outdoors to bring in some fresh air. So those airline tubes right there are actually run outside side of my house, and I have them looped inside the box where my cable television really comes in at. So it's protected from the elements, so it's really a perfect spot for it, and it has definitely helped. I'm not in the 8.3 range, but more like 8.17, 8.19, and I go down to about 8.05 at night. Another thing you can do to get your pH up, I read, is open the windows, get some fresh air and get the CO2 out of your house. So that helps as well. Another change, my output for the skimmer, I had it angled at first, but it started gurgling a lot. So now it's submerged, but to keep the noise down, I drilled a hole in the top of that PVC and ran a piece of airline tubing up, and it's just looped up here, and that keeps things quiet. The other change is I had some leftover live sand, so I went ahead and threw that into the fuge. I don't know, about an inch or so. Just another spot for the, I'm trying to shade that light, for the for the critters to grow, populate down there. The Kato, still can't get it to take off. It is, I had two probably tennis ball size bunches, pretty much turned gray on me or faded on me, and I threw most of it away. But the small amount that I did have left over that was still green is starting to grow a bit, so that's a good sign. But again, that's after about 3 months, but yeah, slow progress. The other change to the sump is I added a small power head to the return section. I was noticing getting not a lot, but just a collection of the stuff at the bottom, things that weren't caught by my little filter tray here with the sponge and my little felt pad that I have on top here. Sometimes I don't run the felt pad, but that's keeping things from settling at the bottom. So up top, let's see, again, not a lot of room. Finally, my LED fixture from Rapid LED. I bought the 75-gallon kit, which came with 48 LEDs, and I actually selected my own. They do have a recommended color variety, but I decided to go with a few changes. And 2 heat sinks. Instead of hanging the heat sinks separately, I joined them together, just drilled them out on the side and attached a metal bar on both sides, so it works out great. I have, and there are the drivers for all the colors. So I have 24 royal blue, and those are controlled by the first 2 at the top drivers. And with this particular driver, which is a Meanwell 60-48D, you can run from 8 to 14. I have 12 royal blues on the top, 12 on the second one. On the third one, that is the neutral whites in the quantity of 12. The fourth one is a mixture of a couple reds, couple greens, cyan, and 2 cool whites. And the bottom one runs my 6 UVs. So those drivers terminate into my little homemade project box that I made. I have a couple of terminal blocks that I mounted inside there that hooks everything from the drivers to the pigtails coming off of each series of LEDs. So, and I have a couple fans up here also for cooling. So love the LED fixture. Still playing around with the intensities. Anybody have any recommendations on what I should run, the blues, the whites, and the other colors? That'd be greatly appreciated. Right now I think I'm running 85, 70, that's blue, white respectively, and the other 2 series of colors are around 50%. All being controlled by the Apex. Apex on the main controller has 2 ports for 2 variable speed ports, and each port controls 2 channels. So I think I just made my own wires for that and wired them into the project box, to the drivers. So again, I highly recommend the Rapid LED kits. The only issue I had was not a real big issue, but they sent me the wrong colors. They sent cyan instead of instead of UV, but they quickly, corrected that, sent me the correct ones, and so I have some extra LEDs if I ever decide to make some adjustments in the color. But that's the setup. So I'll be adding my first coral pretty soon here. But again, if anybody has any recommendations on the intensities of the colors, that would be greatly appreciated. Again, I'm using the Apex to ramp it up so it's sunrise, daylight, then sunset. Playing around with those times as well. But that's it for the updates. I'm running out of tape here, so I'm talking kind of fast. Anybody have any questions, comments, please feel free to leave them, and please feel free to subscribe. Love that cell fan.